You carry within you an invisible weight, a legacy shaped by the mother you thought you knew, and perhaps one you never fully saw. This unseen force shapes your deepest fears, your patterns, and your capacity to heal. But what if the key to freedom lies not in escaping her story, but in facing the parts of her you have long avoided? Today we journey beyond surface wounds to confront the hidden truths that bind us, and through this confrontation, find the doorway to true healing. You carry within you a shadow, an inner figure, a presence that often hides behind the familiar face of your mother. This shadow is not simply about the woman who gave you life, but a complex web of feelings, expectations, and unspoken stories that you have inherited. It is the part of her that she herself may not have understood or could not express, and yet, this shadow influences your entire being, your fears, your desires, your wounds, and your potential for healing. You may have spent years running from this shadow, denying it or trying to reshape it into something more comfortable. But true healing, real transformation, only begins when you dare to face this hidden aspect of your mother. When you bring light to what was once kept in darkness, ask yourself, what is the nature of this shadow? What parts of your mother's experience did you inherit without question? Pain, silence, anger, or perhaps a deep longing? These are not mere memories or stories. They are the invisible threads that tie you to your past and shape your present. The wound you carry is not just yours. It is a reflection of a deeper, collective pattern passed from one generation to another, and by ignoring it, you risk repeating the same cycles, the same struggles, over and over again. But here is the paradox. The shadow you fear to face is the very doorway to your freedom. It is through acknowledging the parts of your mother that you once rejected or misunderstood that you begin to reclaim your own wholeness. This is no easy task. It requires courage, patience, and an unwavering willingness to see what is hidden beneath the surface. And as we explore this shadow, we will uncover how it silently shapes your relationships, your sense of self, and your capacity to love. What happens when the mother's ghost refuses to fade? How do we break free from its grip? These questions will lead us into the next profound discovery, the silent wounds passed down through maternal ties, and why they must be healed if you are to truly live. But first, we must fully understand the shadow that lingers within. There is a truth about your mother that often remains unspoken, buried beneath layers of memories, defenses, and expectations. It is a truth that your conscious mind may resist because it challenges everything you thought you knew. Yet this hidden reality holds the key to your healing. The moment you begin to see your mother, not as an ideal, not as a villain, but as a complex human being shaped by her own shadows, you begin to unlock a deeper understanding of yourself. Healing begins not when you erase the past, but when you see it clearly, without illusion or denial. What is this unspoken truth? It is the reality of her own pain, her unfulfilled dreams, her fears, and her limitations. Perhaps she was wounded. Perhaps she was overwhelmed by forces beyond her control. Perhaps, in her attempts to protect or nurture, she also caused harm, unintentionally but profoundly. To face this truth is to confront the paradox of love and hurt intertwined. It is to recognize that the mother you carry inside is a mixture of light and shadow, care and neglect, strength and vulnerability. When you truly see this, you begin to dismantle the unconscious patterns that have shaped your life. You stop repeating the silent dramas, the hidden resentments, the invisible debts. You begin to reclaim your power, not by blaming or forgetting, but by integrating what was hidden. This is not a simple journey. It asks you to go beyond blame and victimhood, beyond anger and grief. It asks you to meet the whole truth. But there is more. As you see your mother's hidden truth, you also awaken to how these unspoken stories have silently woven themselves into your very being. These are not just personal wounds, they are echoes of a deeper pattern, silent wounds passed down through maternal ties, carried in your body, your emotions, your very soul. How do these wounds live within you? And more importantly, how can you begin to heal what has never been named? In the next moment, we will explore these silent wounds, how they shape you, and why facing them is not only necessary, but inevitable if you desire true transformation. But first, let us sit with the truth you have just uncovered and ask, are you ready to see her as she really is? Within the quiet chambers of your being lie wounds that were never spoken of, never seen, yet they pulse with a life of their own. Silent wounds passed down through maternal ties. These are not wounds of the flesh alone. They are wounds of the psyche, imprinted in your very essence, carried invisibly from one generation to the next. You might ask yourself, how can pain that was never voiced still shape your life so deeply? How does a silence speak louder than words? This is the mystery you must face. These silent wounds are born in moments of neglect, abandonment, unspoken disappointment, or a love that was conditional, incomplete, or fractured. Your mother, like you, carried her own wounds, often unseen, unacknowledged, and through the intimate bond between mother and child, these wounds were passed on, not as curses, but as inherited patterns, emotional echoes, and unconscious scripts. They weave themselves into your sense of worth, your ability to trust, and your capacity for intimacy. This transmission happens quietly, beneath your awareness. You may notice it in your restless search for approval, your fears of rejection, or in the repetitive dynamics that unfold in your relationships. Yet, what if you never name these wounds? What if you continue to live unaware of these invisible scars? The consequence is a life lived half in shadow, where healing remains elusive and true freedom distant. But the silent wounds do not have to define you. When you begin to recognize them, to feel them, not with judgment, but with curiosity and compassion, you begin to loosen their grip. This awareness is the first step toward reclaiming your life from the past. It is not a quick fix. It is a journey into the depths of your inner world, where pain and potential coexist. As we delve deeper into these hidden wounds, we will uncover the archetypal forces at play, the unseen mother, the shadow she casts, and the powerful influence this holds over your path. How do these archetypes shape your inner landscape? And what must you embrace to break free from their silent hold? The answers lie just beyond this moment, waiting for your courage to follow. There is a force within you, ancient and powerful, that waits patiently beneath the surface. A force shaped by the archetype of the mother, yet far more complex than the woman who raised you. This unseen mother archetype holds a key to your inner world, influencing your emotions, your choices, and even your capacity to heal. To unlock your freedom, you must come face to face with this figure, not as a distant myth or abstract symbol, but as a living presence within your psyche. This archetype is not merely a memory. It is a dynamic energy that carries the collective experience of motherhood, nurturing and devouring, protecting and confining. It is the deep well from which your first sense of safety, identity, and belonging arose, yet it also contains the shadows of abandonment, control, and unmet needs. The unseen mother's influence is felt in your dreams, your relationships, and your deepest fears. She shapes the stories you tell yourself about love, trust, and worth. What happens when this archetype remains hidden? When the mother you carry inside is only half seen or misunderstood, you may find yourself trapped in unconscious patterns, repeating cycles of dependency, rejection, or self-sabotage, without knowing why. The unseen mother casts a shadow that can cloud your path, obscuring your true self and blocking the flow of healing energy. But when you bring this archetype into the light, when you allow yourself to witness her complexity, her strength, and her wounds, you begin to dismantle the barriers within. You begin to reclaim your birthright, the freedom to choose, to love, and to heal on your own terms. This is not a simple act of understanding. It is an invitation to transformation, a journey into the core of your being. And yet, this awakening raises a new question. What is the nature of the ghost that lingers when the mother's presence is unresolved? How do you confront a past that haunts the present? We will explore these haunting echoes and the ways they hold you captive in the next chapter of our journey. But for now, ask yourself, are you ready to meet the unseen mother within? There are ghosts that linger, shadows cast by the mother who once nurtured you, but whose presence now haunts your inner world in unexpected ways. These are not ghosts of the supernatural, but echoes of unresolved pain, unspoken words, and unmet needs that refuse to fade with time. When the mother's presence remains unresolved, it creates a psychic tension that reverberates through your emotions, your relationships, and your sense of self. You might wonder, how can a presence so fundamental to your earliest life become a source of haunting? It is because the mother's image is not fixed. It is fluid, shaped by your unconscious mind, and it carries the weight of every joy, every wound, every betrayal or comfort you once experienced. When this image remains fragmented, when love and hurt are tangled beyond recognition, the ghost lingers, unseen, yet deeply felt. This ghost influences your inner dialogue, whispering doubts, fears, and insecurities. It can appear as a restless anxiety, a feeling of never being quite enough, or a relentless pull toward patterns that keep you stuck. You may find yourself reacting to situations not as they are, but as the unresolved mother's shadow dictates. The ghost's power is subtle, yet profound, because it shapes your reality without your conscious awareness. But here lies a critical insight. These ghosts do not have to hold you hostage. Their grip loosens when you bring awareness to them. When you invite these spectral parts of your psyche into the light of understanding. It is through this illumination that healing begins, not by erasing the past, but by transforming the past's hold over you. And as you begin this process, a new question emerges. How do you break the cycle? How do you move beyond the ghost's grip to reclaim your autonomy? The answer lies in breaking the patterns, in embracing what you once denied. Next, we will explore the vital step of breaking the cycle, the moment when you embrace the parts of your mother and yourself you once rejected. But before that, consider this. What shadows are still lurking in your own heart? Breaking the cycle, the very phrase carries both hope and challenge. The cycle of pain, patterns, and wounds passed down through maternal ties is not easily broken. It is woven deeply into the fabric of your being, often invisible yet persistent. You might ask yourself, how can you free yourself from something that feels so rooted, so familiar? How do you embrace what you once denied, and in doing so, find a new way forward? The truth is, Embracing what you once denied requires courage, a willingness to look into the uncomfortable, the painful, the parts of your mother and yourself that you tried to push away. This denial is a defense, a protective shield built over years of hurt and misunderstanding. But it is also a barrier that keeps you locked in repetitive cycles that no longer serve your growth or your peace. When you begin to face these denied parts, you start to see your mother and yourself with new eyes. The blame and judgment begin to soften, replaced by understanding, compassion, and a strange kind of freedom. This process is not about excusing harm or forgetting wounds. It is about integration, bringing the fractured pieces together into a more whole, authentic self. In breaking the cycle, you interrupt the unconscious scripts that have played out in your life, sometimes for decades. You claim the power to choose differently, to respond with awareness rather than react with old wounds. This shift is transformative because it changes the story not just for you, but for those who come after you. But this transformation raises a deeper question. Where does this healing begin? How do you find the mirror that reflects not just the shadow, but the light, the place where your true healing awaits? The answer is found in recognizing the reflection of the mother within you. The journey inward, toward this mirror, is where your next step lies. So I ask you now, are you willing to break the cycle, to face the parts you denied, and to step toward the mirror that holds your healing? What will you see when you finally look? The mirror of the mother. It is a reflection not just of the woman who gave you life, but of the very essence that shapes your inner world. When you stand before this mirror, what do you see? Do you see love, rejection, acceptance, or judgment? Do you recognize the fragments of yourself that were formed in her gaze? This mirror holds the secret to your healing because it reveals the parts of you that have been shaped, wounding and blessing alike, by your earliest relationship. Looking into this mirror is not always comfortable. It demands honesty, vulnerability, and the willingness to confront what has been hidden, not just about your mother, but about your own nature. The reflection may show you patterns of pain, habits of self-sabotage, or fears you never named. Yet within this reflection also lies the possibility of profound transformation. The mirror reveals how deeply intertwined your identity is with the image of your mother. It shows how her expectations, her love, and her wounds became the lenses through which you see yourself. To heal, you must recognize these lenses, and then begin to remove or reshape them. You must reclaim the parts of yourself that were lost or distorted in this reflection. But this is no simple task, for the mirror also holds illusions, stories you have told yourself to protect or deny. You might find that the reflection is fractured, fragmented into pieces that do not fit together easily. The challenge is to gather these shards, to understand their origin, and to bring them into a new, more conscious whole. As you stand before this mirror, a question arises. What will it take to embrace the reflection fully, to see yourself and your mother without distortion? How will this acceptance open the door to healing? And beyond this, what new image of yourself will emerge when the mirror finally clears? These questions lead us to the final part of our journey, moving from wounds to wisdom. How do the hidden powers of maternal shadows transform when they are finally faced? The answer awaits just beyond this reflection. But first, consider this. What does your mirror reveal to you today? Healing, true healing, is not the absence of pain. It is the transformation of pain into wisdom, the alchemy of shadow into light. When you finally face what you have carried about your mother, the wounds, the silent echoes, the unseen shadows, you begin a process of profound change. This is the moment when the inherited pain no longer controls you, when the cycles of hurt can be broken, and when your soul can breathe freely for the first time. This transformation requires something rare: courage to confront what is uncomfortable, patience to sit with the complexity of your emotions, and above all, compassion. Compassion for your mother, for yourself, and for the tangled history you both share. The power lies not in forgetting or condemning the past, but in embracing it fully, without illusion or denial. In this embrace, you find freedom. Not freedom from your history, but freedom within it. As the shadow dissolves, the parts of you that were once bound by silent wounds begin to emerge. Stronger, wiser, more whole. You reclaim your identity, not as a mere reflection of your mother's story, but as a living, breathing individual with the power to create new narratives, new ways of being. This is the promise of facing the truth, that healing is not just possible, it is inevitable when you do not turn away. And so, the journey comes full circle. What once felt like a prison of inherited pain becomes a doorway to self-discovery, resilience, and transformation. You will never heal until you face this about your mother, the shadow she cast, the wounds she carried, and the love that still lives beneath it all. Now, the question remains: will you dare to step through this doorway? Will you embrace the shadow to find your light? The choice is yours. The path is waiting, and your healing begins now.